So this podcast is all about you guys, your journey in music, how you met, and how you started Fairfield and how you got to where you are now. Fairview, my bad. Cool. So I know you're both a couple, which is cool.
Yeah.
My wife and I started this podcast together. Unfortunately, now that COVID has hit, we have 2 kids, so she's kind of on the back end of everything instead of
it together.
Yeah, so I think that's so rad that you guys are a couple. Were you guys a couple prior to the band starting?
It kind of coincided, I always tell people like I had to ask her to join my band, to get her to maybe want to date me or whatever. We were in high school when we met. We met as real little kids, and I had a crush on her for a long time. And then we started the band in high school and started dating in high school, kind of at the same time.
Solid move. Right on. So you guys both went to grade school or high school, or both? You just kind of.
We went to grade school together and then like separate high schools, but we were kind of friends, had a similar friend group by the time we were in high school. So we stayed good friends, and then we started dating in high school.
Right on. All right. Well, Lizzy, where were you born and raised? Were you both born in the same town or raised?
Yeah. So I was born in Elgin, Illinois. So
okay.
Too far from where we are now. And Matt was born in the west suburbs, like Elmhurst. So, and then my family moved to go to grade school. And that's where we kind of met. So.
Yeah. So we grew up like 25 minutes from downtown Chicago. Lizzy was born like 50 minutes away, and then they moved a little closer, and we grew up right outside the city.
Right on. And how did you get into music, Matt?
Both of us actually started taking piano lessons when we were really young. My mom signed me up for piano lessons with my neighbor when I was 5, and I hated it. And I,
of course,
after 2 years. And then, as I got older, I'd start sitting down at the piano, and like it became fun, and I got back into it and loved it.
Very cool. What about you, Lizzy? You said piano lessons also?
Yeah, so the grade school we went to had like piano lessons, and I still remember like one of my friends, we were in kindergarten, and one of my friends like called my house phone and was like, do you want to join piano lessons with me? And I was like, sure, why not? So yeah, we started really early on, and then at the time it was just like a fun after school activity, like once a week. But I always really liked it, and I always like was a little ahead in my like learning books and stuff like that. So I found that it was just something that, I don't know, I wasn't like, I can't play like anything on the piano from sight reading or anything like that, but it was always cool. And as my music instructor like would let us do like pop songs or try to write our own songs, I was like, this is awesome. I don't have to just play like classical music.
I think that was my problem. My teacher was just all about like, classical songs at a 5-year-old. Like I wanted to play like Disney songs, and stuff like that. But
I know, I always found that fascinating that a lot of piano teachers, you always get that like just stigma of like some old woman like smacking your hands with a ruler and teaching you like the proper way to put your hands on a keyboard and
curl your fingers.
That was your experience.
Yeah. And then it's always
he picked up guitar like more early on, and
and the piano knowledge that I had helped and translated to the guitar and made it a little easier to learn and understand.
What year or how old are you when you picked up guitar?
I was probably 13, 14.
Okay. And did you start like learning covers, or like how did you start playing?
Yeah, the first song I ever learned on guitar was the song "Hey There, Delilah." I don't know if you've
Oh, how funny. Oh, I know that song.
And then years later, we started touring and writing songs with the band who sings it, the Plain White Tees. So it's kind of a full circle moment. But yeah, I'd start just playing covers and stuff, and I brought my guitar to school a few times and could play it at recess, and trying to impress the girls and stuff.
Yeah, now you're signed to his label, right?
Yeah, we're signed to Hopkinson's record label, and
full circle.
Crazy.
That is nuts. Okay, so wow. I want to know how you got to that point of touring with them. So you were playing guitar. Did you have bands prior to the band that you guys like formed?
Yeah, so it's kind of been the same band, and we had like a few different names before we got to Fairview. Lame names that like I don't even remember half of them. But we would play together in high school, and we had a bunch of friends that were in the group, and it started out mostly covers, and then Lizzy and I started writing songs. But when we were in high school, I worked at a grocery store, kind of in the town where we lived, and the lead singer of Plain White Tees would come in and shop for his groceries there. And I was like a big fan, so I would like freak out when he was in the store and like try to be cool, but a little fanboyish. But he was always super nice, and I'd tell him about our band, and he'd be like, "Yeah, man, I'll check it out. Keep going, keep working on it." And a few years later, after all these encounters and stuff, he ended up listening to one of our songs online, and he tweeted at us that he really liked it and we should write together sometime. And so we were freaking out. We were really excited. And
I can't imagine.
Yeah, we ended up writing with him, and we all liked what was coming out of the sessions, and we ended up keep going. And then he started this record label, which is called Humans Were Here. And we were the first band that he signed.
Wow. Oh, wow. I think you guys were the first band. That's incredible. Was the song that you worked on with him originally, was that Looking at You from that EP or no?
That's a great question. You've done your prep research.
Yeah.
It was another song on the EP called Life in Your Years.
Oh, okay.
But
so that was the first one that you guys wrote and was a part of that first EP.
Yeah. And that's like one of the most special, still one of our favorite songs that like we still play at shows when we get to play shows. But it was kind of the first, he was like, send me some ideas that you have. And that was one of the first couple ideas that we had. And so that was on the first EP that we ended up recording with them. And yeah, so.
Wow. Oh, so he worked in the studio with you on that full record.
Yeah. He was in there. He was like the boss kind of behind the producer. Sure. In the producer room, just being like, that vocal was good, but let's do it a little better. He worked us hard.
Wow.
It was awesome to have somebody who was so seasoned with the process, kind of giving us tips and pointers
and somebody you looked up to. And like, obviously, I mean, the first song you ever learned on guitar was Hey There, Delilah. And then just the moment of, meeting him in the grocery store to him finally listening to the song. I wonder if did you ever ask him like, how many, like you would be like, oh, check out my band, like how long it took him like to finally be like, all right, dude, I'll listen to this. Like, did he ever get into that with you?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we've had that conversation in general, but we didn't really have solid music put out for the longest time. So I'd be telling him about the band, and eventually we had a couple songs that were kind of not great. And I, tell him to check us out and stuff. And the YouTube and Spotify were just kind of coming up at that time. Well, Spotify at least was. But then we ended up making a music video, and we posted about it, and we would tweet at him and email, and send it to everybody we knew.
Right.
He ended up seeing it, and he really liked it.
And he's told us, like, I would have done the same thing. Like, he was always a big fan of other artists who were in the Chicago area. And so he's like, I would have done the same thing. Like, that's why you guys got my attention. So it's cool looking back.
That is really cool. I've had him on this podcast before, but I didn't do the interview at the time. My brother-in-law ended up doing it because his band had played a lot of shows with Plain White Tees, and he fills in with me for a bit. I've had a bunch of surgeries. Actually, I have another one on my neck coming up on Friday, so that's going to be fabulous. But so he fills in for me a little bit when we have interviews, and I told him, like, dude, do the Plain White Tees one because you like know these guys. And so it's cool that we've had him on. And then I saw that you guys are signed to his label. It's like, oh, that's so dope. Like, it's kind of cool moment for us too, having you guys on and having him on. But what was the song that you sent him that he finally paid attention to?
It was called To Love a Girl, super basic, like teeny bopper name of a song. But it was like, for some reason, we like wrote this song about like what it would be like to have a kid someday, and we were like 16, 17. It was weird. Everybody thought that we were having a kid. And so, a lot of weird conversations. But he had just had, he was kind of a new dad at the time.
Okay.
And, thought it was really good. We ended up asking him a few years later, because we ended up having this like 5-song EP that we were handing out. We never really released the songs on Spotify. It was so old. We're like, if we had sent you any other song, like, would that have gotten your attention? He's like, no, like it, that song, I thought that song was really good. And that's why. And
that was kind of the only song on our EP. Like, we had recorded a lot of those songs ourselves and stuff like that. But that was the only song on the EP that was more stripped down and acoustic, and had some like strings and guitar and piano. So
very Plain White Tees vibe.
Sure. That's interesting that he had just had a kid, and that kind of like drew him in. And you guys were 16 when you sent it, or 16 when you wrote it?
Probably 16, 17 when we wrote it. And then it took a while to record and we filmed the music video, which was probably a few years later. Um,
Okay.
so we were probably 18 when we sent it to him,
Did
19.
did your parents think that you were having a kid too?
Well, they were like, why did you write this song? Like, what was the inspiration behind it?
Oh,
Yeah.
that's funny. You should have gave him like a, happy birthday, grandpa, like card or something, and just like totally mess with him. Oh my. Well, that's cool. That's really cool. So then you start working together. Tell me about getting this tweet. That must have blown your mind. Did you think like, is this like real? Like, I can't even imagine that.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome. Everybody was really stoked. Like even the producers that we recorded the song with were like retweeting it and being like, got a nod from Plain White Tees about the new track. Like everybody was really stoked about it.
That's cool. And then at that point, you just tweeted back at him and said, "Hey, like, is there any way we could?" Or was he the one that initiated it? Like, "Hey, you guys are rad. Like, let's write a song together."
Yeah, I mean, it was like that. He tweeted that at us, and then we ended up going to one of their performances really early in the morning. Do you remember that?
Yeah, it was like a radio show.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Very few people there. They did this radio show outside. There was probably like 20, 30 people there. And we were just kind of chilling. It was freezing outside, or like
Sure.
to get an opportunity to, get over there and say hi. And we ended up waiting till after the show was over. And he actually came up and talked to us. And he was like, yeah, we should get together soon, do some writing. And we're like, yeah.
Of course. Wow. So what? That must have been. Was it intimidating going and like riding with him?
It was at first.
Yeah, I think so. But I think that we went into it and he went into it like knowing that this was very much a learning experience for us. Like we'd never co-written any with anyone else other than ourselves. So
Sure.
when the first time we went in, he was like breaking down a lot of like song structure and like what should be in a song, like what works in like a pop kind of a song. So it was like a learning experience. But I think we went into it knowing like we don't have to be perfect and have these like number one hit songs coming out just yet.
Right. But
now
wow.
it's very comfortable. Now it's like, we go over to each other's houses and we start writing a song and we'll argue about lyrics and stuff like that.
Oh, you're able to get some pushback on him now.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's cool. And did he have the label going yet? You said you're the first band that he signed or were you kind of like his mentor project and was like, okay, I'm going to start this label and we'll put your record out on it?
Yeah, it was a little bit of both. He was working with a couple artists at the time and had some producers that he worked with consistently to make music, but it was nothing like solid, like a label where, okay, we're going to make the music. We're also going to put out the music and we're going to push the music. It was just kind of like he was the guy who wrote this awesome song and, a couple other decent hits and a lot of people wanted to write with him. And so it was a little bit of that. And he had in-house producers that he would take with him. But yeah, once we started putting out some consistent songs and he saw how dedicated we were to the idea of it, he ended up making it a label.
Wow. And did he take once he became a label, did you already record, like I did this in quotes because it wasn't quite a label yet when you started working with you. Like, did you have that record, Our Little Secret, ready? And then he said, okay, now I'm going to sign you and we'll put this out together. Or was it like, I'm going to sign you and let's put an album together? Like what came first, the record or the nod to like, I'm starting a label and I want to put your first thing out?
The chicken or the egg?
Yeah, exactly.
Sure. Yeah. So it was kind of like as we were writing and starting to record, we kind of came up with the idea that we would put out an EP with 5 songs. And so it was along that time that we signed. And at the time it wasn't yet called Humans Were Here. So it was just kind of like this interim period. We put that out. And then after that, it was when the label kind of started taking full form under the name Humans Were Here, and we started having other artists that we were working with. And yeah, it's cool because since then Matt and I have also stepped into kind of being part of the label and doing the art, some of the pushing for other artists as well. So
wow, kind of paying it forward. You're getting to work and push artists that haven't really cut through yet.
Yeah, we've gotten to be on the label side a little bit. Lizzy's really talented with like coming up with cover art for songs and merchandise and stuff like that. So it's been cool to be on that side of it for the other artists.
That's amazing. And when you put out that record, the first EP, is that when you got a chance to tour with Plain White T's, or?
Yeah, it was kind of like a long process because they weren't touring a ton at the time. So this tour came up where there were like 13, 14 shows across the country. And Tom had asked us if we, wanted to do the tour. And we're like, of course. But this was probably a year or maybe even two after the EP came out. We
Oh, okay.
tour. But Tom's also been very helpful in getting us shows with other artists. And we've been using the Plain White T's agent. So we've gotten to play with some really cool people. We played with a band called Sister Hazel. We played with this kid named Gaten Matarazzo from the show Stranger Things. And
oh yeah,
wow,
wow,
a bunch of different little gigs like that. We did a show with American authors, and so we've gotten to do some really cool things because of the people that he's put us in touch with.
very cool. And I noticed that you guys have released a handful of singles since that EP came out. Tell me about, was that around the time like you put out give All My Love, and then you had a couple, Loving You Hurts, and were these songs that were like, okay, we're gonna put a single out, see what it does, put a single out instead of like a full body of work? Like what was the process there?
Yeah, so after the EP, right, and we like toured on that, like Matt said, like all of 2018, 2019, we kind of wanted to start just putting out singles at a time. And at the time, pre-COVID,
yeah,
we kind of wanted to consistently put out like a song every month or every other month. And we did that for like 5-6 months. And then kind of 2020 happened.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, we kind of hit this stride where we were just putting out a single at a time. And it was doing a lot of good because to put out as like up and coming artists, and at the time we were getting on a lot of like small tours or like weekend tours or one-off shows, to have like consistent like new song to push every time we were playing, that was kind of our focus. And obviously getting on like Spotify playlists and stuff like that, it's more beneficial to have one song at a time to push versus like an album and then nothing for 6 months and then another album. So we kind of went the single route for a while, and yeah, happy we did.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's a brilliant approach, especially nowadays, because it's like there's so much music out there right now, and it's so accessible that if you put a full record out and you have the one single, maybe people will, if you're a newer band, dive into the other 3 or 4 songs instead of like having the one and then having the next one, and kind of really, I think the way you did it was brilliant, because a lot of people are like, I have all this music, put it out there, and then one song will have a bunch of plays and the other ones have like nothing. You know what I mean? So doing it that route, that's smart. And in between, were you able to tour quite a bit? I mean, you talked about playing with American authors and other bands. Or were those a lot of just one-off shows, go to the studio, record the next track, push it? Like, how did that work?
Yeah, in the middle of that, like a single a month kind of thing, we were doing this tour called High School Nation, which was with Keys.
Yeah, I know that tour.
Oh, okay, yeah. So it was on the West Coast at the time, and so we would do like a week of shows, and then take the weekend off, and then do another week of shows. So we were traveling around like Arizona, Southern California, Northern California, all over the place on the West Coast, Texas. So we did a lot of that stuff, and we would like have a brand new song, and then we would do 2 or 3 weeks of that, and then there would be a pause. We would go home for a little bit, record another song, and then we would go do a few more weeks of the tour. So it was really nice to have that tour at the time and be able to push the songs as they were coming out.
When you were on that tour, was it just you and the Plain White T's?
No, there were some awesome bands on that tour.
Was there a band called the Eiffels on that tour?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think
okay, because my brother-in-law's band's called the Eiffels, and that's how he knew Tom, and the whole thing started because his band was on that tour. That's why I was curious. I'm like, oh my gosh, well that'd be so crazy if you. I know he's done a few of them, or not my brother-in-law's band, but the Plain White T's have. So I wasn't sure if maybe you guys were on the same one. That would have been pretty fun.
Yeah, that would have been cool.
Yeah, I think ours was like 2019, March, April of 2019. So
okay.
Him what.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't remember when he played it, but I'm gonna text him after this and just see, because that'd be pretty funny.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, right on. Okay, so tell me about where you guys were when this whole pandemic hit. Or were you leading up to putting a record out or putting a album out? What are you thinking?
Yeah, we were starting to write. The idea for us was to take some of the songs that have done well for us, from the EP, and then this batch of singles that we've put out, add another 5 or 6 songs, and then put out like a full-length debut album, which was the plan for last year. And then COVID hit, and we weren't able to get in the studio with our producers and stuff for health reasons, obviously. And so we've just been writing a lot and working on things like TikTok and Instagram, kind of using those to push our songs and to push us as a couple and a band a little bit more. And we've had a lot of fun with TikTok. It's been cool.
That's cool. Like just coming up with different, like, tell me about what you do on TikTok. I'm too old for TikTok. I look at it and I'm like,
that's what we thought. We made TikTok literally like the month before, I feel like, as everyone did, the pandemic hit. And at the time, like, we weren't, getting a lot of traction on the thing. It was a brand new site. We're like, we're too old for this. We're like asking his younger sister, like, how do you make TikToks?
Right.
And we've come a long way. Yeah, no, we just kind of follow trends and use our music and do funny skits or like sing some songs on there. I don't know, it's like a combination of everything, but we've been able to kind of reach a whole new audience of people that we otherwise wouldn't have in like a really short period of time. So it's been a fun way to grow even when we can't tour and things like that.
That's cool. Yeah. TikTok fascinates me. But I know I'm like too afraid to get on it because I know it's going to, like, I have a 13-year-old and that's all he's doing is just like, like video. And like, I'm like, what have you been doing for the last 2 hours? Just like, and then he's just like, oh, just going through videos on my like For You page. I'm like, I don't get it. But it's crazy to see artists that break out because of that. Like, I've interviewed a handful of artists that have gotten like major record deals because they had a song that goes viral on TikTok and then it transfers over to their Spotify. And it's just it's crazy. I was talking to a guy yesterday about like selling out. Like, when I was younger, it was like Green Day sold out, man. They like, they changed their sound, but now I think everyone's kind of pushing for that. It's like, I want to sell out. I want to get the viral moment instead of like, it's just interesting, like how the kind of trend changed. Yeah. And with TikTok, are you guys like testing songs on TikTok, or how do you, other than making the skits and playing songs, like how do you use it?
Yeah, so it's been awesome. The first music video we ever made, the director told us, okay, we need to make people fall in love with your love. And so that's kind of like pushing our couple, romance and all that stuff has kind of been the common thread behind our music videos and some of our music. And so with TikTok, we have such a vehicle to do that because so many of the TikTok trends like have to do with couple things. Like, we have this song called Loving You Hurts. It's about how you love somebody, but they kind of piss you off sometimes. But you love them anyway. So we did a video of us sharing a bathroom together. And it was like, Lizzy was like sharing a bathroom with my boyfriend, and it showed her like picking up my clothes off the ground after a shower, or like not replacing the toilet paper roll, and like, just little things like that. That a lot of people like relate to, and then heard the song, and that video got like tens of thousands of views and stuff. So just stuff like that, like putting our couple situations like into the music or into the trends is kind of how we do it.
I love that. Yeah. And I love that approach too, because it is relatable. Yeah. Like leaving your stuff on the ground, the toilet paper roll, like, yeah, it's empty, like the toilet seat up, maybe, like, I don't know, like just little stupid things. Like, that's funny. I like it. I think that's clever. Do you guys do like the live stream? Have you done any like the live stream things?
Yeah, we have. Yeah.
How do you feel about that? Is it weird compared to
it's a lot of work. I see some accounts that we follow that like go live every single day, and I don't think we don't have that down yet, but we've gone live a couple times, and it's cool because, again, it's a totally different audience than we have on Instagram or any other social media platform. So it's been a really cool way to reach new people and get new followers like every day, versus Instagram, where it's very much just like people who have been following you for a while, or it's harder to like grow that audience.
Right. I feel like, yeah, it's not as like TikTok's the new trend of, it's almost funny because it's like Instagram is becoming the Facebook. Like, Facebook became like not cool when like your grandma had it, and then like every business, you'd be like watching a commercial and it was always like, follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and it was like, okay, well that made it not cool. And then Instagram came and it was cool. And I feel like now Instagram is becoming the like boomery business oriented social media platform. And now TikTok is more where the, you know, younger kids are finding bands and videos and everything. It's just such a, I wonder if TikTok will soon become, it's like interesting to think like what will come next, and will that be the like the new Instagram or whatever? Do you go on Instagram and do live ones there, or just mainly on TikTok?
Yeah, we've done a couple of virtual shows during the whole quarantine, and we'll always do like live streams kind of leading up to that and after that show. So I don't know. I feel like it's cool because TikTok allows you to have that viral moment potentially so much more often than any other social media platform. And I think that that's why it's so cool, because your son and everyone else is constantly scrolling through new videos of people they probably don't even follow. And
Yeah,
if
they
you like
don't.
the video, you follow them or you check out all of their other content. So yeah.
Yeah,
I think
Instagram's been cool because like when we did these online shows, we would do the before and after. It was kind of like a virtual meet and greet kind of thing. So we would like guest people into our Instagram, which is where you can split the screen with somebody and
oh
they
yeah,
get all excited about that. So it was a cool tool to use for the kind of virtual meet and greets while we can't have real shows.
that's cool. Yeah, and then your fans kind of get this more one-on-one opportunity with you. I think the one thing that's came of this whole pandemic and everything is like the behind the curtain look at people and their lives. It's like the reality show thing, like in real time. You know what I mean? Like reality shows became this big thing, and now it's like you guys are sitting in your room, and like now everybody's gonna know that that's what your room looks like, and you have these two flowers behind you or whatever. And it's just like it's just so crazy. And I feel like TikTok is so similar to that because it's people just like at the moment, like, whoa, you know, making these videos. Whereas Spot or Instagram is now more of like everything has to look so polished if it's going to go onto your like feed instead of your story. Like it's just, it's, it, it blows my mind. It's weird.
Yeah, it's been amazing to see like some of the celebrities when the quarantine first started, they'd be like at their houses with beards or you know like
right.
makeup on their hair's like white. You know, it was really funny to see some of that stuff.
Yeah, some of your favorite artists, you're like, whoa, like yeah, it's weird. It's like, oh, that's what Billy Joe's living room looks like. That's
Yeah,
crazy. Like, it's just so funny.
totally.
Um, well, have you guys been working on new songs during this whole thing and writing new music?
Yeah, we've been writing a bunch. We just had a call with the label about putting some dates on the calendar in June to go out to LA and record some of the songs and start getting them out. We just got our first dose of the vaccine. We're getting our second one pretty soon, so we'll be a little more comfortable traveling and doing that stuff.
Very cool. That's super exciting. I know things are opening up, it looks like in the fall with, you know, festivals and which
Yeah.
I mean, I'm still like intrigued. Like, is Outside Lands really going to happen in October? Like, or Bonnaroo is just like 4 days, and
Yeah.
we shall see. I mean, hopefully, it sounds like, you know, with the amount of people getting vaccinated now, it should be not an issue. But who knows? We'll see.
Yeah, I think outdoor shows are going to kind of be the gateway back into show business.
Yeah, I know it might even be harder to do the smaller club dates because of like how constricted people are, but we'll see. I've seen a lot of actually, you know, not smaller artists, but artists that are playing 500 cap rooms having tour dates, so that's kind of promising. Yeah. Well, thank you both so much for talking with me today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having us on the pod. This is a lot of fun.
This is
awesome. Well, I have one more question for both of you. I want to know if you have any advice for aspiring artists.
Yes.
Do you want to go first?
Sure. I think you said something earlier that there's so much music being put out right now. Like there's, I think like 200,000 new songs put out every day on Spotify.
Wow. I didn't know that.
So easy to put out music. So my advice would just be, you know, you might have an amazing song. You might have a really, really good song, but if nobody hears it, if you're not getting it into people's ears, you know, it's not really going to go anywhere for you. So it's not just about making the awesome song, but it's about getting it into people's, you know, ears.
Ear holes.
Yeah.
I would say to I think a lot of like this quarantine has given us time to reflect on like what we really want our sound to be. And just, so my advice would be to not try to sound like another artist. Because like Matt said, with it being so saturated, you could easily be like, oh, I want to kind of go this lane. And so if you really can just hone in on like trying to say something with your lyrics right from personal experience or like stories in your head, and then just kind of follow who you want to be as an artist. Like there's no one like you, that there's no you other than you. So just be a very much yourself. And I think those artists like Billie Eilish and people like that, like they're the first of their people and then people follow them. So if you be the first and be uniquely yourself, I think that's when you can go the furthest.